Okay, so 3.8 is basically an instant replay of what we did in 3.7. So all we're going to do is take a journey about 5 pages to the right to 127. And if we get to 127, there's at the bottom of that page the class exercises, which we don't usually do, but they're just as good as any problems that I could make up. So can somebody tell us for one, make an equation for class exercise 1 at the bottom of 127. Yes, sir.
Is it 8x plus 12 equals negative 84?
That would work. Yeah, we'd want to go 8x, sum is plus, so 8x plus 12 equals negative 84 is a good problem. Anybody question on how to set that up? And I'm just going to assume we can still solve that because we've been doing that for like a month now. How about somebody else for 2? Can you set up a problem for 2?
Maybe 2/3 times x minus 7 equals 27.
That it would. 3, I'd probably suggest a picture, at least in your imagination, to imagine a picture. If your imagination fails you, actually draw the picture. What's true about a square?
It's equal.
All the sides are equal. We don't know what any of them are, so what would you, if we are imagining or drawing this picture of a square, we've got 4 of the same sides, but we don't know what they are. What would you label on that? X. On which side? All the sides. You'd have this picture with X's on every side for a square. Either imagining or drawing that, can somebody then get us set up on 3 an equation?
Is it 4x equals 196?
It is 4x equals 196. Anybody have trouble with how we're creating those on that page? Would anybody have trouble solving those on that page, doing our opposites?
Wait, so
Yeah, okay.
when you said 4x equals
4x equals
196,
196.
and then you just divide, right?
Divide.
Okay.
Anybody else question about how we would finish those if we were finishing them on that page? Yes, let's do one more, and then I have one bit of advice that'll cover us a problem out of the real set. Anybody 8? A thought, or on 4? A way to set that up. I saw the 8 in the problem instead 8 instead of 4. But number 4, a creation there.
It'd be 8/9 x equals 160.
That it would. Keyword is of. Of means to multiply. So we need 8/9 of people. So 8/9 times, and we don't know how many people. So 8/9 times x equals 160. People sometimes get freaked out by fractions. We had this discussion a minute ago when we went over the old homework. When a fraction multiplies, your job is to then divide. Dividing makes you flip the fraction. So that fraction, the 8/9 would get flipped and have to multiply the 160 over 1 if you were going to do that math. Anybody? 1, 2, 3, 4. Question about like what's up? Basically doing again what we did last lesson in the new lesson. Okay. So here's a tidbit that you're going to need to know. You might want to write this down. For doing number 19 and doing number 20, there's a famous thing in math called the distance formula, which we have not yet encountered this year in this book yet. But what the distance formula tells you is that speeds times times make distances. Sometimes you'll hear people say that rate times time makes distance is a synonym way to say that. So whether you call that rate or speed doesn't really matter. But rate times time equals distance. What you're going to need to do to create your equation for 19 and 20, you're going to have to know that idea. And if they tell you the rate, fill it in. If they tell you the time, fill it in. If they tell you the distance, fill it in. They'll tell you 2 of the 3, so what's going to go in the third slot of the one you don't know? An X, or a T, or an R, or a D, or whatever letter that you want to do. Can somebody give me an example of something that's a distance so that you can know a distance when you see one?
Meters.
Meters is a distance.
Kilometers.
Miles, kilometers, those are distances. Anything that tells you how far you're going, that is a distance thing. Times, I think you would know better than anything. Times, just stuff like
1 o'clock.
minutes, hours, days, seconds, years, whatever that would be. If it's a question of how long something takes, that has to do with times. The rates are the ones people sometimes don't spot as well. You can spot the rate one of two ways, either because it's the other one, or it usually has the word per in it.
Oh, miles per hour.
Like mile per hour, meter per second, kilometer per hour, whatever that is. Sometimes instead of the word per, you might see a little slash in it, like meters per second or miles per hour. They might write it with this slash instead of the word per. But when you do 1920, you have to know that bit of background information. The rates, which are speeds, times times have to equal distances. That's like the guideline of how you'd set up your equation for 19 or for 20. Other than that, off we go. It's page 128 is 1 to 22. So if you're behind on the 122 page, do that. If you're up on the 122 page, just jump on 128. There's a good bit of time left in class. You could probably get one or even, I don't know if you can get both of those done, but 1.5. One other small thing that's maybe worth a mention in case people forgot this, it doesn't hurt to get reminders. On some of the geometry ones, I continue to encourage you to draw or imagine a picture. For 21, pentagons, what are pentagons about? Pentagon? It's 5 sides. So you could draw any shape that has 5 sides. Hexagon appears in one of these questions, is 6 sides. They do say that in the question, but we were encouraging you to draw pictures of rectangles or squares yesterday. Today, there's 1 pentagon and 1 hexagon. If you have trouble imagining a hexagon, then draw the hexagon. If you can imagine a hexagon, so be it. But same guidelines on this assignment as yesterday's. You have to write an equation every time. Then do your opposites to solve the equation every time. I should be able to see both of those things for you. We're done learning for the chapter. Chapter 3 has hit a conclusion, so plan would be do this page 128 for tomorrow, where I'll give you a worksheet. The worksheet would be due the next day, which is Wednesday on this calendar as we're filming, which would put a quiz on Thursday, which would put a bigger worksheet on Friday to review the whole chapter, and we go on a weekend, and then next week, Monday, the new grade period starts next week, Monday. First day of the new grade period would be a test. So right out of the gate, boom, day 1, test. But that's what's coming up. If you know you're missing school, I could give you the worksheets ahead of time, or if you want to work ahead, you can work ahead. But at least for now, our main goal is 128. Do you have a question that's like recordable or after we cut? All right, so we'll cut. Anybody have a question that should be recordable before we cut? All right, let's cut. Yes, ma'am.